Hi, this is Darnell at Whale Recipes, and this is my 30-day review of the Gourmia 8-Quart digital air fryer with window and light. And so, if you've not already seen it, please see the initial review, because if you want to see test cooks, if you have questions about dimensions and questions about things like temperature testing, all of that and more are in the initial review. And that's also here on the channel. But this is where I do a 30-day follow-up. I talk about my thoughts, impressions about the cooker, and basically you can take it from that point, which you would like to do. But basically, generally speaking, it's a great cooker if you're going to cook small things, and the window and light are a very nice addition to that. And I think that the reason that basket air fryers before this current class that have windows, I think that the previous ones didn't have windows on them because there's likely heat escape through the window. Even with this Gourmia that has a two-pane window to try and hold things in some, still you're going to get some escape through even those two-pane windows, even if some of that heat's coming out and trapped between the two panes. It's still not going to be able to keep the heat in like a fully round metal container in a basket air fryer that has no window. So I think that's why there weren't windows before. But still, overall, this cooker does a very good job. Now, a lot of you, if you are into Costco, they got this thing on sale for like $39, $49 or $40, $50, and it's a great deal. Bottom line, great deal. At $80 it'd be a great deal. So I mean, it's a super great deal at the current prices at the moment. Something I do like about this cooker is that with the turn reminder, it tells you to turn, like let's say you were going to do a 1-minute cook, just for the sake of, just imagine that. If you were doing a 30-second cook, it would tell you to turn at 30 seconds. So if you use like an odd amount of time, it's able to half that even to the level of the seconds, which is nice. That it can really give you a true half even if you use an odd number of minutes. Also, when the turn reminder tells you to turn, it stops counting for a few seconds to give you actual time to turn the food. It doesn't keep counting immediately. It starts counting a little bit after that, but it does give you a moment to actually turn the food without losing time on the countdown. That's also a good thing about the turn reminder. A nice thing about the light feature is that if you turn on the light during the cook, it stays on for the duration of the cook. So you don't have to keep running back to try and turn the light back on and it turning out on you after a certain period of time. It just stays on, recognizing that you want to see what you're cooking, which is the whole purpose of having a window and a light. Now, one negative about this cooker, which I demonstrated in the initial review, is that the two-pane window on the door can basically get fogged up. If you're washing it or something, it'll get fogged up with like fog and water condensation from washing it. And that stays there a long time. Sometimes I would just put the basket back in and run the cooker for about 10 minutes just to have it dry out the door from the wash. Even though the door was still wet in between those two panes, it was dry everywhere else but wet in those two panes. I just put it in for about 10 minutes and let it run so it get hot and dry it up. But how long does it take for those two panes to dry? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. They do eventually dry on their own if you just let it set out for, I don't know how long it'll eventually dry, but to me it's just forever. It's like if it just takes a long time for it to dry, and that's just one downside. But still, like I said, you can, if you want, you can run it for a moment to get it dry, or just let it set out longer. Eventually it'll dry. I can't tell you how long, but eventually it will. But it's just something, it's a little annoying, but still very nice cooker overall, all the same, but something you just want to be aware of. I wouldn't let it wear you down too much. Just recognize it's just the reality of the cooker, and it is what it is. Something else nice about this cooker, if you forget to turn off preheat or turn off the turn reminder, if you wanted to turn those off during a cook and you start a cook and it's got the turn and the preheat already engaged, you can, even if it's started a preheat, you can just hit the start button once to basically do a pause. And after you do that, you can basically press the, well, it's the cancel stop button that you press once. You press the cancel stop button once. That'll do a pause. And then you can turn off the turn reminder or the preheat button if you choose, and then hit start again. And once you hit start, it'll just start going without the preheat if you turn that off, or without the turn if you turn that off. The general heat level for this cooker, and this is just a general opinion based on other cookers I've used, but I did full temperature testing in the initial review. But just in general cooking with it, the heat level seems to be like a medium. It's not like a super hot side cooker, it's not a cooler side cooker, it's kind of just a medium, middle of the road as far as its level of heat and cooking things goes. And that goes for like smaller things. It's going to do like a normal basket air fryer would do. If you're doing much larger things though, much larger things might take a bit longer in this than they would in a basket air fryer. And I'm talking about whole chicken type large, which really isn't something that they give guidance on using in this cooker in the first place, but something that I tried myself. I do want to point out that the cooker stays warm well after cooks, so that's pretty nice that things don't immediately cool down, so it stays kind of warm on its own. Even if you don't use the keep warm feature, it's still going to stay warm in there for a good while after a cook. The user interface is super easy to figure out and use, so that's a very nice plus, that it's easy to use. But there is one downside to the user interface, being a touchscreen interface without true buttons. Sometimes, depending on how wet or dry your fingers are, or how cold or warm your fingers are, when you press the buttons they may not respond, kind of like some cell phones or other touchscreen type devices that may not respond depending on the condition of your finger at the time. And that can be a bit of a hassle trying to, keep touching or trying to get a finger on it that will actually get a response. So that's something to keep in mind. The touchscreen is a little particular as far as when you're using your fingers on it, getting it to respond. I may have even, during the initial review, had a situation where that happened. You could see that there. Now the cooker had no smoke issues at all. That's very good. And now I want to talk about the functions that I used and how things went for me. The air fry function works well, so as a basket air fryer it does its job. The roast function works well. The broil function I didn't use. Dehydrate I also didn't use. Reheat works well, no issues at all on reheat. And I don't use a microwave oven, so when I was cooking anything or reheating anything, it was happening in here. So when I say reheat works good, it was for everything that I tried. Keep warm I didn't use. Bake also works well. And so basically for every function I did use, it worked well, so I suspect that it performs well for the few that I didn't use. Also, I didn't get to use the second level accessory that it comes with. This accessory here where you can put things on a second level. I didn't get to use that in any cooks. Now as far as cleaning the cooker, it's fairly easy to clean. I talked about how to clean it in the initial review. But there's one thing that I did want to show you now. Basically this is mine after a month of use, only hand washing. You can see inside and inside the basket and inside here, all clean in there. Don't worry about things flying up into the fan or the heating element. There's been a lot of times people worry about that. Do not worry about that. That rarely do I have a cooker where something hits the heating element. I've shown in the initial review, even cooking toast, nothing flies up. Nothing flies up. You'd have to have something very light for things to move around in the cooker. So don't worry about things flying up. I use it for a month and you see it's clean inside. I never had to wipe up in there and things are fine in there. But I did want to show you something about the air fry rack. Now I hope that you can see the air fry rack clearer now. Far away it might look like it's totally clean, but the air fry rack can hold like some food and things kind of in crevices of the grooves. Now I know I could soak it and such to get that out, but I just wanted to show you that the rack, even though it's not hard to clean, it can sometimes get things stuck in the crevices there. So just be aware of that. Now I want to talk about comparisons of this cooker with other basket air fryers that don't have a window, just basically generally any basket air fryers in general. This one is very nice. It really depends on if you cook a lot of small things or you need something that can cook big things often. If you need a basket air fryer that's going to cook big things often, you probably want to get something without a window so that you can maximize heat retention. If you're cooking small things often, you want to keep an eye on them and such, this is definitely, in my opinion, the way to go. One like this or another with a window and a light. But this one, like I said, the price can't be beat right now, so there you go. And I'm not going to be comparing this to anything else. It's not really fair because it's a basket air fry, so I'm not going to try and compare it to things that are in a totally different class. If you want to know my thoughts on other cookers and things of that nature, and you can see other 30-day reviews and such, all the information's there. Now I did want to mention there are 900 videos here on the channel now, so there's no shortage of content for you to watch and enjoy and to learn from. There are reviews for 80 different cookers here now, so you can just basically look at what interests you and get the one that interests you. Don't worry about what interests me, worry about what interests you. See the type that you like, the type that works for your kitchen, and I just hope that the information that I share can help you make your own decision, because you're not buying a cooker for me, you're buying a cooker for you. So check out what interests you and what will work best for your needs. Now, nothing in this video is sponsored, nothing in any of my videos is. No one gives me anything, and I don't want anything from anyone. I prefer and desire to remain independent in my reviews and my talks and all of that. And so that's how things are done here. You can always check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. Again, that's superwaveovenrecipes.com all together. And there's lots there as well. And you can, in the video description, see lots of ways to help the channel, such as my cookbook, merch, membership, donations. Check out the link to the Amazon shop where you pay the same price but help the channel. And so there's lots of things there at the Amazon shop that I think you probably enjoy checking out. And so with all of that said, if you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.